Okay, so right around the age of 10, that's when you started to play basketball?
We dibble dabble with it. My oldest uncle, Tom, you know, we weren't allowed to call him Uncle Tom. So we had to call him
Yeah.
Tom. So and
For
then I had
obvious reasons.
John
Yeah.
and George. So Tom and all of my uncles worked out at Vaughn's supermarket in Monrovia. So on the weekends, they just had all sports. He had baseball bats, gloves, football, basketball. I mean, we had it all. So we just played. We just started playing. And my first love was football. I wanted to be a football player. My favorite team was the Cleveland Browns back then with Jim Brown and
Right.
Paul Warfield. And so we played all sports up until I was about maybe 12, 13, 14. It was kind of like then I started making the decision that basketball was a little bit more fun than the other ones.
Well, Tom played for the Negro League as a baseball
He
player?
he was in the old Negro League. He played. I'm not going to put myself out there, but he played in that league, and so he was a baseball player, pitcher.
Yeah.
Tom was 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", so he was a very good pitcher. So he loved sports. My other uncle John was more of just a casual watcher. He watched it a lot. He didn't play a lot, but they were all very invested into sports. And my grandmother was 6'5". So that's where I kind of
Your
got my height from.
grandmother
My grandmother,
was 6'5".
6'5", very big woman, big breasted, and she was just, I mean, had big hands. Every time we had, and very rare we got spankings, but when we did, she put it on us. So,
Well, you started playing basketball at the YMCA, and you got so obsessed with the sport that you actually made a hoop in your backyard using like 2x4s.
yeah, we did. I mean, that was our way. We didn't have all the luxury that kids have today. You know, you won't move around L.A. or any part of the country. There's basketball courts at the parks and really nice ones. And we didn't have that. The only ones that we had were at the school ground. I remember we went to elementary school, Madison Elementary School in Pasadena, and you had to jump the fence. And usually they had security, and you might be able to play a game, but somebody eventually would come along. Hey, get out of here! You're not supposed to be on school grounds. This is on the weekend. So knowing that, that's when we just started making our own hoops. Or you can go to the church. Your church had a little gym or the YMCA somewhere. But when you couldn't go on Sundays, because I spent most of my time in church on Sunday, I built my own. So I would go out. My uncle took me to the junkyard, and I got there was a 7-foot pole. And however I wanted, I had to get me a post hole digger. And I dug the hole and I put it down. You had to dig deep enough, like 2 or 3 feet, to bring it down to the height that I wanted to be. So next thing I did is I went to the junkyard. You got your big flat piece of 2x4 for a backboard. And my uncle was helping me with all this. He'd get it. And then them big old long nails. I remember that, and the hammer. And he nailed that in. And he went to the junkyard, and that's where I found my rim. And it was an old rim, and put the rim up. And for about as soon as I did it, for about a week, I didn't have a net. And my uncle told me, well, there was a store, Johnny's Fishing. It was a fishing tackle store, but it was like a sports store. And the nets over there was $1.25. And I mean, back then, that's a lot of money. So my uncle said, well, if you save up your money, I'll run over there and get you a net. And that's what I did all week. I remember walking around, picking up pennies, doing things, mowing people's lawn for 25 cents. And I got it up, and I finally got a net to go in it. So I put it to a level where I could dunk. So that was kind of like how I was able to play basketball.
Huh.
And all my time just shot there. And then as I got older, then you're able to go to the gym, and then you can play. Because the bigger guys was there. They weren't going to let anybody, at that time, 12 and 13. So I was playing with all my cousins. So
this is just the most hood basketball setup that I've ever heard of. Between a junkyard and fishing net and a pole and long nails and so forth, you were just determined to play basketball.
Well, I wanted to play, I wanted to play like. And back then, my uncle was a Boston Celtic fan, so he would always sit us down on our little black and white TVs that we had, and he said, "Hey, Michael, you got to watch these guys. These guys." So I'm watching Bob Cousy, John Havlicek, Sat Sanders, Casey Jones. I'm watching all these guys play. Bill Russell, and they're winning championships. And back then, only teams that were on were like the teams that was good. So usually it was like the Lakers and the New York Knicks and the Washington Bullets. So that's all we got to see And so I wanted to be like them. I remember seeing Connie Hawkins play Phoenix Suns, and Connie was like a Dr. J before Dr. J. He held the ball with one hand, and he was dunking all kind of ways, and I wanted to do that. So I lowered my rim down, and I could do those kind of things. I get me a volleyball, and I, go by the hoop.
Oh, with the volleyball? You play with the volleyball?
Play with the volleyball, because I wanted to be able to palm. Well, I had a
Okay,
basketball, but I
too
couldn't
big.
palm.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it,
so
yeah.
volleyball, I could palm that. And I went by, so I was just, maybe that was the makings of who I eventually became. But I think any player at my era in that time, or as old as I am, I think everybody kind of did that. Some was a little well off than others, but that's how I made my way.
Okay, so you get to high school, you're going to Pasadena High School, and you get cut as a freshman.
Yep.
And a sophomore, right?
Freshman, sophomore, yeah, and got cut as a junior, but they had a junior varsity team, so it wasn't being cut, it was just being demoted. So I went down and played for the JV team, but we had this guy on our team named Michael Gray. And Michael was the same age as us, but for some reason, he always seemed older than us. And I think back then, what they call being held back now, or holdbacks, that's what they call, where, you get held back in 6th, 7th grade. I think that probably happened, because Mike, I had never seen a guy this good at our age, in the 9th grade, and he was starting on the varsity team. So, everybody wanted to get up there. We had a great coach named George Turgeon, who's passed on now. He was called the Hawk because he had a long Armenian, but he had a long nose that looked like a hawk. So we called him that. And it was affectionate, though. And Coach Turgeon was one of the best coaches I've ever had. He set the foundation for me being a good basketball player and a good defensive player. He was really about defense and the fundamentals of it. And it wasn't about like you have kids now. It's all about individuality and being the best on the team. He wanted everybody to be the team. And team to him meant together, everyone achieves more. And that's how I was brought up. And I just kept following those stages.
Okay, so by the time you graduated high school, were you like a great player or just an okay
I
player?
was an okay player, and I wasn't growing a lot. I didn't grow a lot till after high school, so I was probably about 6'3", but I always could jump, thanks to that knee my grandmother prayed on. So I was able to jump. I was real skinny, and I had a couple of nicknames on the team. I was called Rope. I was called Twig. I was called any name you could say for a Slim Jim. I was called that. So and the names didn't affect me, and nobody had really realized that Coop, being my last name, was going to be the things that people would identify me with a little bit more. But and so as a senior, not really doing well in school, a lot of the guys on my team were getting scholarships, and I remember going to my coach, Turgeon. I'm asking, Coach, how come I'm not getting any scholarships? And at that time, I was an athlete student. And he says, Coop, they don't think you can make it in a classroom because you're getting D's and low C's. And I said, you know what, I'll show them. So my next best option, because I really didn't want to leave Pasadena. Growing up, you want to be in your home. So I went to Pasadena City College. That's where I ended up at.
Well, right, because you had a scholarship offer from Seattle Pacific University.
Did not know where that was at. I didn't know. I didn't know. I know now, but I did not know. It was in the state of Washington, but I see, where is that? And they used to try. Coop, they took our books, geography books. Coach Turgeon had a friend who had actually played up there, a guy named Bill Dewey, and he was like, Coop, it's a great school. I said, no, I'm be close to home. So I stayed and went to Pasadena City College.
So you go to Pasadena City College. Now, freshman year, you couldn't play because of your grades.
Well, I played 3 games. I was able to play 3 games, and by that time it came out and my grades were, then I became academically ineligible. I missed a class, and that killed off my year.
But then sophomore year, you kind of got into your stride.
Came back. Got to play later on, but again, that whole time was practicing. But then I grew. I was about 6'2", 6'3", going to junior college, and I grew 3 inches that summer. And now I'm 6'5", 6'6", and Coach Barnes was a coach down there. Coach Barnes was a professor of chemistry. He was a chemistry teacher, And he kind of let me go my sophomore year, and things took off, and I was averaging probably about 22, 23 a game my sophomore year. But I kept that, I changed that mentality of being an athlete student to being a student athlete. And I never forgot about that. So I started getting good grades, and putting those together along with my academic side, I got some good scholarships. Michigan State, I could have played with the team that Magic played with when they won. UNLV, the Running Rebels with Tark, the way they were going. Reggie Theus went to school there. I could have been with them. Arizona State, I had an opportunity in New Mexico. And the reason I chose New Mexico, because they had a civil rights uproar there. And all the black players left the team. And Coach Ellenberger went out and recruited 7 JUCO All-Americans, and I was one of them. And when I went there, all the players and some of the African-American studies people were like, you guys don't want to come here. Things aren't right. They're treating the blacks bad. Don't do this. And I was almost falling in line with it until he told me, he goes, listen, I'm going to throw the ball up. Best 5 can play. And I like those odds.